What about the bank?
Hello, Jesse Moore, Dennis
Pierce.
Premier Short Sale Team, Pickett Street Properties, serving greater Puget Sound area. Based out of Bothell, but covering pretty much Seattle to Stanwood.
And all points in between.
Yep. So, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, actually, Jesse, you mentioned a little bit ago that you you gleaned a new tidbit about what to do when a short sale dies. So I'm kind of curious as to what you had in mind there.
Well, it's never fun when a short sale plummets to the earth. But
it's kind of that crash and burn sort of effect, yeah.
It does happen though, and so when it just happened this week, I had a short sale. It should have been a slam dunk. One lien holder.
Right.
I actually got the BPO right away. Got it. What I thought was submitted to the investor right away. And what happened was the bank either fired the negotiator I was working with, or she quit. I'm not sure which.
Okay.
And so that file kind of got dropped. And it took me about 2 to 3 weeks to motivate that next person who came in behind to clean up the mess, which is a whole nother technique I can talk about another time. But because of that delay, oddly enough, the buyer on this transaction has a new girlfriend who works in Seattle, and he thinks that this condo where it's located is probably too far away for her Seattle commute, even though he's commuting east side and it'd be no problem.
Interesting.
Damn Cupid.
I think something that's really important you mentioned here is there's a lot of moving parts in the back story of a short sale. There's so many things happening with, you mentioned investor, you mentioned a negotiator, you mentioned, there's a whole series of things that can go wrong behind the scenes, and that curtain is something that we are negotiating all the time. We're constantly digging deeper to try and find access to get more information, because obviously information is what allows us to get the job done here.
Well, and I had another short sale that I got full approval in 4 weeks, which is awesome. And then the buyer, I sent my notice that we got approval, and the buyer walked away 8 days later anyway. And left their deposit. They left their earnest money. They even admitted we don't have a right to our earnest money. This is breach of contract, and they walked away.
That's just awesome. You never hear about that on a short sale. In fact, it rarely happens on a standard transaction. So it's
right where you get to keep the earnest money. And I'd rather keep the deal together than keep the earnest money. But in this case, they walked away. And here's the lesson I learned: is if we have a short sale transaction that dies and it's in process, we either have approval or we're working towards approval. We do not tell the bank.
Right.
Because as soon as you tell the bank, they close the short sale. They close that file and they throw it in some back room, and it's
never
off their radar.
Yeah.
And what happens then is if you get an offer even 2 days later, we've found out, if you get an offer 2 days later and you go to reopen it and you think, oh, this will be a slam dunk, and quick and easy, we have an open file, we have a BPO done, we already have an existing approval letter, here you go, and the bank's response is, oh, I'm sorry,
we have to start over again.
We have this policy. And you know what, those negotiators, they want to close files. They get bonused on.
Typically they're incentivized in order to get those done.
And to be fair, they have a lot to do. They have a lot of files they're working through. And if it was done on my side, I'd probably throw it out too. So what we've learned is that if you are in the middle of a short sale and that buyer walks away, that's fine. We're going to get your listing back on the market. We're going to do our best to get you a new offer, close to the terms of the original offer, and we will not tell the bank because it takes too long to notify them to have to restart the whole process. And in reality, by the time that they give us an approval, more often than not, we have a willing and able buyer with very similar to net terms.
Right.
And that's the important part. So anyway, that's our tip for today. If you have a short sale in process, the buyer walks away, don't tell the bank. Don't go, hey, I don't know what to do, because the buyer walked away, because they'll close that file, and then you're in trouble. And instead, hopefully just educate yourself on the process. And if you're an agent, you've educated yourself and you know what to do, and that is go out, find a new buyer, and don't say anything to the bank, and let's And then when the bank opens a dialogue with you, then you can say, oh,
yeah,
that's weird. Here's the new buyers.
Yeah, just keep in mind we're playing a game of poker here.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway,
all right. Good deal.
On to bigger and better things.
That's the short sale tidbit for today.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.